My new job seemed just like any other boring office job when I started. You come in, log onto your computer, do 2 or 3 hours worth of work, try to look busy for the rest of the day, then go home. I had done plenty of work like this before, but it had never paid this well. I was making hand over fist while spending most of the day just goofing around. Despite the perks, something troubled me from the outset. After making pleasantries with everyone in the office on my first day, all of my coworkers started to turn on me. If I said good morning to them, they would say it back, and they would engage in a little small talk with me here or there, but as soon I began to walk away, I would notice their expression sour. Their faces would curdle like spoiled milk the moment they thought I wasn't looking, as if I was the most disgusting creature they had ever seen. When I walked past them in the hallways, I would catch a momentary glance of pure hatred in their eyes. There was evidently something that this whole office disliked about me, but I had no idea what it could be. This went on for weeks, and it seemed to get worse by the day. I would catch them staring at me like I was a spider they wanted to step on. Sometimes, if they thought that I was out of earshot, I could hear them whispering things about me in a spiteful tone. I started showering twice a day and using more deodorant to try to reverse my status as the office pariah. I brushed my teeth with special whitening toothpaste and even started flossing, to no avail. I tried being friendlier and starting up more casual conversations, but nobody had any interest in talking to me beyond the usual greetings. Everything that I did to make myself more agreeable seemed to just make them hate me even more. As if that wasn't bad enough, I started to notice people around town treating me like a leper as well. When I went to the grocery store, I would be met with scowls by the greeter and the cashier. The bank teller wouldn't look me in the eyes when I tried to make a withdrawal. If I took a walk down the street, everyone I passed by would give me that same look of loathing that I had grown used to in the office. My family and friends became just as distant shortly thereafter. Nobody would return my texts or calls, and more than once I saw some of them getting together without me. I know that I hadn't been the best friend since I lost my brother, but I hadn't given any of them the cold shoulder like they were doing to me. After months of this, I gave up on trying to get people to like me and decided instead to become the freak that they believed me to be. I abandoned all hygiene and stopped even pretending to try at work. If people gave me a sour look, I would just insult them to their face. Wherever I went, I was as loud and rude and generally disagreeable as I could possibly be. This only made people hate me more, but at the time I didn't care. It was strange that my boss never tried to fire me for my terrible behavior and foul odor, but I didn't care about that either. I was in a frenzy, manic with freedom, and I determined that if this was who they thought I was, then I would at least enjoy it. At last, after a year, they finally broke me. I had been living like a degenerate for the better part of 6 months, and I didn't feel any better. Everyone hated me, without exception, and I had given them a reason to. I cried at my desk at work, wallowing in pity and shame. What had I done, originally, to deserve such intense ostracization from people who did not even know me? That's when I realized something that at the time felt extremely obvious. They knew. It was impossible that they could have known what I had done 2 years prior, but somehow they knew. Maybe they didn't even know it consciously, but when they got a look at my miserable face, they knew it immediately. I was guilty and had escaped justice, so this was my karmic punishment, unspoken exile from every corner of society. They couldn't have really known what I had done. I had an alibi, I covered all of my tracks with precise attention to detail, and the police did not even suspect me for more than a moment. The crime had been perfect, so I had been given the perfect punishment. At that point, I was totally resigned to guilt and went about my life like a robot. I cleaned up to make myself presentable and did nothing but go to work, eat, and go to sleep for weeks. If people looked at me like they usually did, with eyes like daggers piercing to my sinful soul, I just accepted it and moved on. I deserved it. After another month, something very strange happened. I arrived at work, ready for another day of miserable drudgery, but found that the entire office building was being cleaned out. All of my coworkers were carrying their belongings out of the building, and movers were retrieving everything there was inside: lamps, tables, chairs, desks, computers, you name it. My boss approached me and told me that the company had gone under. According to him, it was a sudden thing that nobody saw coming, and everyone there, including himself, was now unemployed. What really shocked me about what he said was not the story he was telling, but his tone. There was not a trace of spite or disgust. He smiled at me and shook my hand, and I could tell that he meant it. Had the curse finally been lifted? He told me that I needed to just go home and file for unemployment, but I told him that I had some personal items at my desk that I needed to get before I left. He wouldn't let me in the building for some reason. He insisted that I needed to stay outside and pointed me in the direction of where I could find my things. They were packed for me in a cardboard box, wrapped shut with tape. I arrived home with my box and unpacked it, but found something that shouldn't have been there. A classified government document titled Operation Ostrich. I wondered how this could have wound up in my stuff and decided to peek inside to see what it was about. It revealed everything about what had happened. Ostrich was a CIA experiment to see if intense feelings of hatred toward a certain individual would spread through the air like a plague. My coworkers had been paid to fake feelings of loathing toward me, but soon their pretend feelings became real. The CIA had agents discreetly monitoring my life, watching me everywhere I went to see if the disease would spread. Despite having never talked to my coworkers, the townspeople began to hate. Then my loved ones. The agency was astounded at how successful the experiment had been. Even the people overseeing the project found themselves succumbing to the psychic virus. However, at the time when I had finally been completely broken down, the CIA documented that something changed. They noted that I had seemingly accepted my fate, which only amused them at first. Strange things began to happen soon after, though, which they could not explain. Hallucinations of a man wrapped in plastic. They started to get reports from my coworkers that they would see the man in plastic walking through the halls at the office, then he would disappear. One of them said that he saw the man in his bathroom mirror, smiling back at him. Operation Ostrich only ended because people started to die. They would report that they saw the man in plastic, then would be found inexplicably ripped to pieces. This allegedly happened to 2 of my coworkers and a few of the agents who were monitoring me. With that many dead, the CIA decided to cut their losses and move on. The hallucinations that they saw troubled me. It couldn't be that they knew. There was nothing in the document about what I had done. For all they knew, I was just a regular goody-two-shoes. But what they saw and what they think killed those people, was it possible? I walked out of my house and into my backyard to the hiding place under the trees. Where there once was a bed of flowers, there was now an open grave. What happened next, as I stood over that hole in the ground, couldn't have been real in a sane and rational world. Yet the scars across my face where his nails dug into my flesh remind me that this is reality, and I'm still in my personal hell. I don't have long to live. He's going to come back. As I looked into the grave, I heard squishy footsteps behind me. I turned to look and I saw the man wrapped in plastic lunging toward my face. I heard him say, "Brother, I missed you."